All right, everybody, what is going on? It is your boy, Tommy on the spot. Welcome to another edition of Disney 101. Hope everyone is having a very, very good morning, a Sunday morning. It's a very special Sunday morning edition of Disney 101. So if you're starting the tailgate early down at the football stadiums, you can turn us on, stream us live as you're getting the burgers going, getting the hot dogs going, or if you're just enjoying a very lazy Sunday morning, go ahead and turn us on, and hopefully you guys are having a very magical Sunday. My name is Tommy on the Spot. You guys can follow me over on Twitter at Tommy on the Spot. And on the other side of the glass, he is a former Walt Disney World cast member. He is a current Orlando resident, and he's one of my best friends in the whole world. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve.
That's such a great introduction. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Wasn't bad. Steve, what a crazy weekend here. Yesterday, the Destination D23's Destination D, a whole big ordeal went down, and there's a whole bunch of news that came out of that. But before we get into that, how was your weekend?
Good. It's kicking off the my Thanksgiving break, so I have all this week off, which is amazing. So, set up to be a good week. Yeah,
that's good stuff. So you have off you have off Monday through Friday?
Yep, absolutely.
That's incredible. We don't know in New York. It's just you get Thursday, Friday, and that's it.
Well, also I'm a teacher, so so like last week or last year, I think we may have had Wednesday off also. But yeah, they went back to giving us the whole week because, I mean, honestly, nothing gets done for those 2 days anyway. So we might as well just let everyone have this whole week off.
It makes sense. No, that's I know the schools here do the 2 days.
Yeah.
They do 2 days. We at work, we normally will have off Thursday and Friday, and then we'll have off. We'll told to like bounce early on Wednesday to beat the traffic. It's about as good as they do.
Well, also you guys get other days throughout the year, like the schools up there, the public schools in New York, like you get off for the Jewish holidays in the fall, and you get extra days off for like President Week and that kind of stuff. So we don't get a lot of those down here. So I'll take anything I can get.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, we were one of the big things this week is that New York City got hit with a redonkulous storm. We had snow in November. I was at a conference in Manhattan and had to take an Uber back to Queens, and I was in the back of this Uber for 3 hours and 45 minutes. Coming back, not moving at all. It was terrible.
I mean, I feel you, man. That day it got down to like the 50s here. I had to put on a light jacket. I didn't know what to do.
I'm sure it was tough. I'm sure that you guys were struggling. So I had you had mentioned yesterday you'd had an opportunity to go down to Disney Springs.
I did, yeah. Checked out some of the holiday offerings that they have there at Disney Springs. The Christmas tree trail is pretty cool. They have Christmas trees set up themed after a lot of different movies and a couple of the parks as well. So it's really cool, and they have a lot of different decorations and stuff. I will tell you though, it was really crowded. It was a Saturday night, but it was really crowded.
Well, and also you got to figure you guys are going down there. You're around for obviously it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, so people are probably coming in and spending the Thanksgiving down in WDW. How is the Christmas tree trail thing?
It's it's a walking trail. So it's set up where the old bus loop used to be in the marketplace area of Disney Springs. So it's, if you keep walking past like Once Upon a Toy and Earl of Sandwich and everything like off into that direction, you get the Christmas tree trail. And so it's set up to like just basically a walking trail where you can walk along, look at all the different Christmas tree setups and take some pictures and that kind of stuff. So it was really cool.
That is really cool. That sounds awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. It sounds like right up my alley there. And is it like
Yep. Although I think there would probably be a couple of ones where if you were put to the test, you'd be like, Steve, which movie is that from?
Oh no, do you have to pay to do this thing or?
No.
Oh, that's really cool. That is good stuff. All right, well, let's get into it here. So yesterday, the big were you able to catch up on day one of D23's Destination D celebrating Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I did.
Pretty insane stuff.
I saw a lot of the Mickey. I love all of the Mickey celebration stuff. All of the stuff that's geared to towards. I like how they're trying to even pull any sort of reference to Mickey. I think the thing that I'm most excited about though is the new attraction that's coming to Hollywood Studios. Have you heard about that one?
Well, so there's a couple of them. So let's see here. So yesterday there was an event that was held at Walt Disney World. Official announcements, including shows and attractions. And so the folks over at WDW News today have a really in-depth look at this and kind of they break down everything. It was Bob Chapek, the Disney Parks Experiences and Consumer Products Chairman, who presented at this event. And so let me ask you before we even get into this, how do they do a deal where how do you even attend this event? Do you have to be a part of scheduled media? Can you just attend as a fan? Can you buy tickets to this? Do you know?
That's a great question. I don't really. So since it's a D23 event, I would imagine that it's one of those. Let's see, 10. I'm just kind of going through it real quick. It's probably one of those things where it's more. I know a lot of the media or like the bloggers and stuff. So like there's a bunch of big bloggers that were there for it, and some of the other big people in the industry. So I don't know exactly if it's like a like D23 where you can just get tickets. It might be one of those invite only type things.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it's really definitely cool. So let's see. Basically, Bob started out by pretty much saying we are currently in the midst of one of the most extraordinary periods of expansion in our history. We are always pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We deliver world-class experiences and attractions, new hotels and entertainment, itineraries and destinations for our guest. So one of the main things that they did offered exclusive look at was a deep dive into Star Wars Galaxy Edge. They talked about 2 signature attractions, as well as hearing the score that was created for the land by John Williams for the very first time. So one of the things was the first attraction they announced was the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run Ride. Have you heard about this one?
Yes, not to be confused with Millennial Falcon, my Instagram handle.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, Millennium Falcon. Yeah. So it looks like it. It's one of those things where you have to kind of take the promo video at face value, where it's one of those things where if they're just trying to illustrate how in-depth and immersive the ride is versus if this is actually going to look like the attraction itself, where if you're thinking, okay, if this is exactly what the attraction is actually going to look like, it almost makes me think of something mission space related where you're in a capsule and it's just you and another person and there's multiple capsules in the ride.
You're right.
Kind of going through, and everybody is kind of, and because of all of like the buttons and everything that you can press and interact with and that kind of stuff. So that's what it makes me think of, or maybe that might just be a little bit of the to get hyped part.
Yeah, no, I because they did say with Millennium Falcon, this is going to allow guests to take one of 3 unique and important roles aboard the famous ship. So that'll be cool. I'm sure that's going to have a line out the door when it first starts. I'm sure both of these rides will, but certainly that one. Now, will this incorporate Star Tours as well, do you think?
I don't. It might be a little bit Star Toursy, or maybe it'll be like we hoped that Mission Space would be, where if you don't do your job, then you fail your mission. I think that would be cool.
That's how I hope it was. I remember when we were sitting there, and the first time I'd done Mission Space, we're all doing our thing, and then we did Mission Space with myself and David Bass did that at my bachelor party with a couple of youngsters, and we failed. And I was like, "What is going to happen? These guys are not doing their job," and then nothing happened.
Well, I'll tell you, to kind of. To play devil's advocate here, while you're on the ride, if you don't do your job, the autopilot computer does kick in. So you actually, if next time you're on it, listen a little bit closely and just kind of, for, one of your jobs, just don't do it. And you'll hear the computer override go, oh, autopilot engaged,
Oh,
whatever it
okay.
is that you were supposed to do. So there's that little safety net. It is just a training experience after all. So
That's right. No, that's true. They couldn't leave some trainees up there to, be in charge of an entire mission. But next time, I'm failing intentionally because I want to hear that. So we'll see. Hopefully, there's no strangers who will be jumping on there. Some folks I haven't met jumping on with me and getting on their thing, depending on me, because I will fail big time intentionally. The next ride that they mentioned was the other main attraction of the park, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, which will let guests join an epic battle between the First Order and the Resistance, including facing off against Kylo Ren himself. One of the unique components of the land is that they will be interactive and include optional integration with the Play Disney Parks app, allowing for a very immersive experience. Have you played on the Play Disney Parks app?
I haven't, and just because we really haven't had a lot of park experience time since it actually came up. So maybe next time we go to the parks, we'll play around with it and see what's going on there. But because it sounds really cool.
Yeah, I personally like that quite a bit. I haven't done the Play Disney Parks app because of the reason that I need usually the app in order to figure out wait times, doing all this, and because historically, if you go to Disney World or Land or any of the Disney parks, your phone is typically something that the battery dies very quick. You can get different battery operators and different things like that, but I do think that is something that we've heard in the past that it would definitely be helpful though.
Yeah, and I would love it if I mean, just kind of doing the dream attraction thing here, where if they're going to incorporate an app, maybe some sort of like AR experience, where if you have your app and hold it up to a certain part of the attraction, like you see different things and it kind of adds a little bit to it, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things that they did reveal yesterday was John Williams creating the new and original Star Wars themes, specifically for the parks. Have you had a chance to listen to these yet, Steve?
I did, and I love all things John Williams anyway, so he's done some scores not just for Star Wars, but Indiana Jones and Harry Potter and, dozens of other, Jaws and like all these other, huge blockbuster movies. So to know that he's going to be doing the soundtrack for the land as well, it's going to add that much more to the experience.
Yeah, and let's just, I'll play you guys a little of what had heard. We'll try to get that on there. Let me see here if we can. All right. Let's just give you guys a little bit of an idea. It does sound pretty awesome. And actually, the video that they have on there shows a really cool bit of, you can see the orchestra doing her whole deal, and they show everything, nice landscape shot of all the construction going on right now. So they also showed some concept art for the Star Wars Resort, which I certainly cannot wait for. This is going to be a first-class hotel. They say will mimic a luxury starship and include dining, recreations, and rooms that appear to be very authentic. There's a lot of concept art you can check out, but this seems like a pretty incredible resort that's coming to WDW as well.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I think it was one of the Bobs. It was either Bob Chapek or Bob Iger. It was Bob Chapek that said, for everything that's going to be coming out in the next couple of years, the next 5 years or so, it can't just be special. It has to be spectacular. And it's great to hear that and to see all of the new stuff that's coming out of it, because it just means that, for a while it felt like At least kind of when I worked in the parks, it felt like the parks were kind of being neglected in favor of a lot of other avenues. And it's great to see Disney kind of going back to the idea that the parks are going to be what's making the Disney brand special.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you think about the fact that, let's just take, for an example, Hollywood Studios, in a couple of years, we're going to have Star Wars Land, you're going to have Toy Story Land, and you're still going to have all those other types of attractions coming about. And that's going to be a must-do park when you go down to WDW.
Yeah.
The next piece of business that they spoke about yesterday was the celebration of Mickey Mouse's 90th birthday. This young buck, man, he's getting over at the age of 90 here. He really is doing his thing. But let's take a quick gander at this. So they did announce opening season for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Rail is tentatively set to open in fall of 2019, and they will use cutting-edge technology to take an original story of a 2D cartoon and turn it into a crazy adventure inside the world of Disney Channel's Emmy Award-winning Mickey Mouse cartoon shorts. So that seems incredible. They seems that they are. I'm actually a huge fan. Does this seem to you like this is going to be a bit of like an indoor kind of roller coaster type attraction?
I don't necessarily know if it will be a roller coaster. Mostly because it's going to be, this is the attraction that's taking place of the Great Movie Ride.
Oh, okay.
So just by the way the building is designed, I don't know if it's going to necessarily be an attraction. I'm thinking something more along the lines of the Who Framed Roger Rabbit ride at
No,
Disneyland.
not Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin.
No, yeah, Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm thinking it's going to be something more along the lines of that, just because just that's just the vibe that I've been getting this whole time.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but that's based on the building that it's going to be occupying, and based on just the preliminary stuff that we heard about the ride. That's kind of more of what I'm thinking about. It's going to be, because it's going to have to be. You're thinking if it's going to be Mickey, it's going to have to appeal to everyone. They're not going to make a Mickey ride that's going to be, that's going to have a height requirement, in my opinion. So it's going to be something a little bit not as intense, and
right.
All of that leads me kind of to believe that it could be some sort of dark ride.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Mickey Mouse, you can't have Mickey and Minnie's Runway Rail and have it go upside down 3 or 4 different times, and all the kids can't ride Mickey's attraction. It would be a disaster. So you're 100% right on that. There's a couple other different deals with Mickey's. Couple different Mickey Mouse themed deals. Mickey's Mix Magic and Mickey's Sensational Parade are coming to Disneyland in January of 2019. But for WDW, Mickey and Minnie's Surprise Celebration will run from Magic Kingdom from January 18th through September 30th. This will include food, merchandise, and entertainment, as well as a new dance party, and the ability to meet Mickey and Minnie in their celebratory outfits, which people are huge on, including my wife loves to meet Mickey and Minnie in the special outfits there. So that's pretty cool. But what is the Soundstational Parade? Is that the same deal?
It sounds like it's going to be taking place of the parade that currently goes on, not the Festival of Fantasy parade, but the Move It, Shake It, Celebrate It, Bop It, Twist It, Pull It parade.
Right.
The one where it's just kind of more of like it goes from Main Street down to the hub, around in front of the castle, and then back around. That's what it sounds like.
I think you're right about that. Then there's also some stuff there. They even said there's going to be a new deck party for the Disney Cruise Line. So they said if you're experiencing Disney at high seas, you also have a surprise party in which they'll take place at the Disney Fantasy starting next summer. And then there's also a new nighttime cinematic experience coming to Hollywood Studios on May 1st to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the park. Feels like the park's been around a lot longer than 30 years, but I guess 30 years. So it started in 1988?
I think 89.
Oh, right, 89, because it'll be next year that coming out. The Wonderful World of Animation will use top-notch technology to guide guests through a journey of more than 90 years of Disney animation, including the important fact that this was all started by, of course, Mickey Mouse. So that sounds pretty awesome as well. So does that mean, is that going to be in addition to Fantasmic?
It might either be in addition or temporarily in place of, because I would think based on the concept art and based on the description here, it's probably going to be where Fantasmic is currently, which means either you're going to have to do double duty and it's going to be one and then the other, or you're just going to have to temporarily replace Fantasmic with this, which as much as I love Fantasmic, I would be okay with a new thing temporarily.
I agree with that, though. The idea of having both of them back to back, incredible stuff. I would be into that big time.
The only thing that I would think is logistically, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of setup. That's a lot of turnaround to have that much, logistically, all of the set pieces and all the equipment and everything. That's a lot. Yeah, no, I don't think it's unheard of for Disney to do that kind of thing. I just don't necessarily know if it would actually work out that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're more likely correct. But the idea of having multiple experiences to do there at night, and then the Star Wars fireworks, which hopefully they can pivot off that as well, and you have all three to end at Hollywood Studios, sign me up. I mean, I'll be there I wouldn't move. I'd sit in the same spot.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But Disney isn't necessarily in the habit of not letting people move around for extended periods of time. Like, they want people to move around. So,
right. Well, you move around, then you notice there's the Oogie Boogie popcorn holder, and you notice there's a couple different new souvenirs, a new enamel pin, and you spend your money doing that. So if you're sitting in the same spot, you're not doing that stuff. So
right.
All right. I'd also mentioned to Steve off air that right here in New York City, they just launched the Mickey the True Original exhibition, which recently opened and provides visitors with an interactive experience. Have you heard about this at all?
I heard about it, yeah. So that's definitely something that you'll have to check out and report back to us on that.
For sure. Yeah, no, it'll definitely happen. It's craziness during the holidays. It seems like there's another holiday event or another holiday party of some sort, but I will for sure get down there and check that out. And when I do, I'll put up some photos. We'll have a good time with it. Maybe we'll do some videos for the YouTube channel. If you are in the New York City area or planning to visit for the holidays, maybe you're coming down for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. If you do, find me and say hello. But if you do that and you want to check out Mickey's exhibit, tickets run $38. Some folks have said this is expensive. I don't know if it's a whole hour or two deal, I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's because all of these kinds of limited experience. I remember, way back going, 20 some odd years ago, the Air and Space Museum in DC had some sort of Star Wars exhibit. And it was also a little pricey compared to the regular admission. But, when it's that kind of exhibit, you're probably going to be seeing some pretty cool one-of-a-kind artifacts that you don't really get a chance to see. So I'm sure, and, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other stuff to go along with it. So if you're a hardcore Disney and or Mickey fan, I'm sure it'll be worth it.
Absolutely. I mean, and I know that they have like top-notch artists that have contributed artwork to this. And on top of that, have also, they have some different types of kind of photo ops there, just of what I know about the exhibit. And they also have some type of, what is it, like old artifacts, like as you said, old artifacts, cool old stuff to check out, old Disney merch, different things to that extent. I'm hoping there's a 4D show. I don't see anything that says there is, but I'm a huge fan of 4D shows. So.
Of course, yeah.
All right. Now moving right along, they also unveiled a whole bunch of new stuff for Epcot. Doesn't feel like Epcot really needed a variety of new attractions. However, they're still giving you quite a bit.
So, really? You thought that Epcot had enough attractions to go around?
Well, you know what? I always, because of the fact that when you go to Epcot, I feel like time spent in the countries is such a big part of the experience.
It is. I'll give you that. But if you have children under the age of 11 or so, which is a lot of people, it gets to be a lot of walking on those little legs, unless you rented a stroller. And it's also like to them, it's all just kind of a blur, and it's all okay. This is cool and everything, but what else is there? Where are the rides? That was one of my first, like one of the most common questions when I used to work at Epcot was, where are all of the rides?
Right. You know what? I'll never forget. We were down for your wedding in 2015,
15.
right? I was thinking 14, but 15, yep. And my sister, it was one of these deals where she wanted to go on one of the rides that was in around the countries. And we went down there and we were going to do it. Something happened. I think it was, you know what it was? We were going to do to the German restaurant with you guys. And then somehow we didn't go. I don't know what happened, but I don't know if the reservation was too much, or my sister kind of threw a hissy fit about missing Illuminations and didn't want to miss it because it was her first time like being in Epcot. So you guys went to the reservation, and then my sister was like, "This is great news. We can actually make it back to one of the rides before the show." So my sister had us go all the way back to Soarin', ride that, and then run all the way back to get a good spot for Illuminations. And my poor mother was not having a great time with that.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say
one side of the park all the way to the other. You don't realize until you're doing it back to back like that how far it is, but it is. It's quite a walk.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Epcot is that you don't realize, especially when you're in the countries, if you need to get to anywhere from the World Showcase, it is a walk. It is not a quick play. It's not a quick thing to do.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, you just remember how that affected poor Nav at the bachelor party there.
Mm-hmm.
Tough stuff there. So it was announced, obviously, we had talked about already that Illuminations was going to be closing up shop. And then an official replacement for Illuminations will debut in 2020. And it will be a celebration of how Disney music can inspire people from around the world, featuring massive floating set pieces, custom-built LED panels, choreographed moving fountains, lights, pyrotechnics, and lasers. But it was announced that in the meantime, before that even happens, there will be a limited experience premiering in fall of 2019 called Epcot Forever, and will be a celebration of the park. It'll be set to classic Epcot tunes, beginning with a spark of imagination that quickly grows into an epic spectacle of fireworks, music, lighting, lasers, and choreographed, wait for it, special effects kites. That sounds awesome. Good for them. They did something a little bit different there. They gave us back a little something kind of on the parks, and they gave us a show to do before the new show debuts.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart idea because a lot of Epcot right now in this transition period, a lot of the promotional stuff around Epcot is banking on that nostalgia factor. Until they're ready to do a lot of the renovations and stuff that they have planned, it's okay. Remember how everything used to be? Okay, wait for it. Now everything is ready. Okay, let's go.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I think it's really cool, and the show sounds great too. I mean, and if you're a Disney nerd like myself, or who doesn't live down there, you'll probably try to set up a trip to go and check out that show, and then over a long weekend or something like that.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. A lot of Disney's advertising stuff is spent on the fact that if you haven't been recently, you haven't been. And for a long time, that was very true. But it feels like the last couple of years, there hasn't been as much new stuff. Kind of like every now and then there was a new ride or a new show or, a new restaurant or something opening out. But now in the next couple of years, there is a lot of new stuff coming out, and they're kind of stagnating and they're kind of making sure that not everything is released all at once, that you get a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there. And it's going to be released in waves so that it's like there's always something to come back for.
Absolutely. One of the other things they mentioned yesterday, not only about the two new shows in Epcot, but they also did mention that the Ratatouille ride that'll be coming to the French Pavilion will be entitled Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. And this would lead me to believe that it might actually be a little bit different from the attraction down in Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, and but it kind of it it makes me think that it's going to basically be the dark ride for Ratatouille. You know how it's just like Pinocchio and Snow White and Winnie the Pooh and everything. Like they are dark rides based on the movie, and it's basically going to be a retelling of the movie. It sounds like that might kind of be what this is going to turn out to be.
Could be. I personally don't understand those attractions at all. When we get into our refurb attractions, the mine will be on those a bit. I feel like most of the people seen the movies. I don't know if a lot of people want to relive the movie story as they go through. And the Ratatouille ride in Disneyland Paris is actually a lot of fun. So I hope that they incorporate some of that into the attraction here.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right. And the next piece of business they mentioned is that running concurrently with the Impressions de France show will be a new show coming to the pavilion called A Beauty and the Beast Sing-Along, created by Don Hahn, who produced both the animated and live-action films. And on top of that, there will also be a O Canada Circle Vision 360 show. And it'll also be getting a new film. And seems like there's going to be different projection screens, yeah, pretty good stuff. So, what do you think about the Beauty and the Beast sing-along deal?
I think that's a pretty cool idea. But again, it's this idea that for a long time there was this standard of not really having a big, fantasy presence in the World Showcase. The World Showcase, a lot of it was, it's its own separate thing. It's, this is away from all of the other Disney-ness, that's away from all of the movies and everything. Like there isn't as much of the outside Disney as there was in the World Showcase. It was its own different, unique thing. So this is just a continuation of bringing in outside Disney stuff and putting it into the countries.
There you go. Yeah, and, I mean, you're 100% right. And I think that by having those different, like Frozen, right? I mean, when they did Frozen in Norway, and that was really kind of a deal where they were like, hey, we got to capitalize on Frozen. We've got to find someplace for it. Let's just get rid of the Matterhorn and see what we can do. Was it the Matterhorn they got rid of?
No, it was Maelstrom.
Maelstrom. There you go. Matterhorn, I think, is still there. What am I talking about?
It's in Disneyland.
The Matterhorn is in Disneyland only?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Isn't that... No, yeah, good. There is no Matterhorn bobsleds in Animal Kingdom?
Nope. That's the Expedition Everest.
And the other ride with all the water.
Kali River Rapids.
Oh, yes. Named after the great wrestler, the great Kali. But terrible. I apologize. So they the last bit of business they mentioned yesterday, new deluxe nature-inspired resorts that will feature more than 900 hotel rooms and Disney Vacation Club villas. It'll be called Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge, and they will also have Disney's Riviera Resort, which is currently under construction, inspired by European grandeur Walt himself, experienced his travels along the Mediterranean coastline. So these seem like pretty cool resorts, but it seems like they're going to be pretty pricey as well.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like they're going to be both deluxe resorts, and they're both even probably going to end up being DVC properties as well. So they go hand in hand. With a deluxe resort comes a DVC resort. So most, which is great because it's, the big thing that for, on the DVC side of things, for the big complaint for the past couple of years for Disney Vacation Club has been there's not really a lot of availability. And especially at those prime places like Bay Lake Tower and the Polynesian and stuff, availability comes really quickly for Disney Vacation Club members. So this would be a great boon to DVC owners that want to come to Disney World. Which adding 2 new resorts is going to open up a lot more.
For sure. And I know also, by having these 2 resorts come out, I think also it'll take a little bit of the craziness away from the Star Wars resort. At least people will feel like they have some place that they could stay if they can't get into the Star Wars resort right away.
I mean, it's not like you're starved for options here
Right.
at Disney World if you're not staying. But yeah, I agree. You know, people, especially people are always, especially people that you know, can afford that kind of thing, to go to these deluxe resorts, because Star Wars, make no mistake, is probably going to be the most expensive resort because of all of the things that go along with it. Um, but so people that have the opportunity to stay at any resort, they're going to want to stay somewhere where they haven't stayed before. You know, that's where that's as again, going back to my time as, you know, with Disney Vacation Club, a lot of people were, well, I want to try and stay here because we've never stayed there before. So adding more resorts is going to be able to give that option of, well, okay, maybe we can't get into the Star Wars resort, but we'll go to this other place because it's new, so we haven't been there before.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. And the last little thing they mentioned was they do have pictures up on WDW News today of the gondolas, the Skyline gondolas. They're bringing up the cables, and this is going to be a new way to transport around the parks. We haven't really gotten a chance to talk about the new gondolas and the Skyride. What are your thoughts on this? I think it's freaking fantastic.
It's definitely an interesting idea that, you know, I guess it's instead of the monorail to, you know, be able to go from place to place. You know, people always think that you can take the monorail to any of the parks, where, you know, that was true over 30 years ago when all of the parks were Epcot and Magic Kingdom. But now that you've added Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom, you know, some of them are a little bit, especially Animal Kingdom, it's a little bit further away from other places. So being able to get from one place to another a little bit quickly and a little bit more differently is definitely a unique experience.
Yeah, I you know, as a kid, we have that video from, like, I had been in Disney World in 1990, and I think I know you've mentioned to me the reason why, but we were on the People Mover, and then we were on those little deals that went across on the Skyline on the
Yeah.
It was actually a Skyline ride in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I think it went from Tomorrowland to what, Adventureland or Frontierland?
Something like, yeah, I believe so.
The other side of the park.
Yeah, pretty cool deal. I know there's a way to get from here to there, but also, like, think about the idea that you'll be in these deals and you'll be able to see all of basically all the resorts and be able to kind of see everything. I think it's definitely a fun deal. I'll probably ride it just because I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of other people are going to be thinking the same thing. So,
and not only that, but we've talked about a potential for a monorail bar crawl. A Skyline bar crawl sounds like it'd be even crazier.
that would be pretty interesting too.
Yeah, good stuff. So that is it. But a crazy time yesterday at the Destination D events, and it is fun to see, especially being a part of Twitter and seeing everything that is going on there. Kind of what everything is kind of going on. It's just fun to see everyone get so excited to these things throughout the entire day. Specifically having this our Twitter brand at Disney 101 Pod, being able to just be fully immersed in all folks Disney and be able to kind of see everyone and build on their excitement through that. And it just felt like yesterday was one of those days that everyone was really just pumped up the whole day for everything going on.
Yeah, it's like Christmas comes early.
It's very true. And one of the things I really like about it too is that they're also doing Epcot. It's not just Hollywood Studios, because if they bring out 300 rides to Hollywood Studios, that place is going to be super packed, specifically once you have Star Wars Land right now, after a year after Toy Story Land, and then you have the Mickey Mouse stuff coming out. It's good to see they're also bringing some new stuff over to Epcot, and they for a while were focusing on Hollywood on Animal Kingdom, so it's good to see all these different attractions coming to different parks.
Yeah, and the best thing about it, honestly, is that these are things that a lot of people have actually been asking for and wanting and saying, "Hey, Epcot needs some more attractions. Hey, you know, we need some more. You know, we need these kinds of updates." And you know, Disney is, you know, nothing if not receptive to ideas from guests and you know, everyone. So to see that changes are brought about by people saying we want these things is one of the best things about Disney as a brand.
Absolutely. All right. Well, maybe not the best things about Disney as a brand, with a smooth transition over there for the ages. Our main topic today even though we really did get a really great, in my opinion, discussion there on everything that happened yesterday. But we've been wanting to do this for a couple of weeks now. Attractions or maybe shows or something that could use a little more pixie dust, if you will, that are due for refurbishment, maybe something that we've seen enough of, and it's time to maybe put those attractions away. Now, of course, if we had done this show 2 years ago, we'd have had a long list, I feel
like. Maybe. I mean, one was on the list, but I guess it's kind of, one of those things where maybe I need to get rid of it. But because I think it already happened, or it's like going to happen, or not sure necessarily, but it's kind of half happened. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, I remember years you were talking about Ellen's ride, right?
Yeah.
Journey through whatever it was with Ellen. And then you were also talking about Great Movie Ride. Now you like the Great Movie Ride a little bit.
I mean, again, I like it, but it's one of those things where these are attractions that kind of died a slow death, where they, like, especially Alan's Energy Adventure, they took out a lot of things and kept it, and like didn't really change and didn't really say anything about it. They just took things out without replacing them or changing it at all. So it kind of was one of those things that was like, okay, why? Like, and that's when the rumors started with the ride being shut down as well. If they're going to take these things out and not fix it and not change it and not do anything with it, then maybe that's kind of a sign that says we're not investing too much in this ride because we know it's going to be closing.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you on there. So is there anything now, I guess you can kind of start us off here, anything that you feel still needs a little bit of a refurbishment, or maybe wouldn't be so sad to see it go?
Well, to just flat out get rid of, I think that, again, they're kind of in the process. Like, sometimes they'll close it and bring it back, and that kind of thing. But Stitch's Great Escape,
Well, I apologize. Somebody didn't realize we were filming and came strolling through on a motorcycle. What did you? We missed that one. I missed that one there. What did you say?
Stitch's Great Escape.
Ah, yes, Stitch's Great Escape. God bless. The first time I went on this attraction, I thought it was so cool. I thought it was really awesome. I don't know why I did, though, because when I went back, I was like, "That's gross," and it's not cool nor awesome.
It's got a great pre-show. It's a multi-layered pre-show where you got the pre-show video, and then you go in with the animatronic with Sarge and everything. And I love that part. But then once you get into the ride, and you actually like go on it a couple of times. Like, the first time, it's a unique attraction, definitely. It's certainly a unique experience. But then after you've been through it a couple of times, you're like, oh, this, and like especially working there and taking a good look at everything around you, like, oh, this needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, we're just sitting there, and I mean, he's bouncing around, he's burping pizza on you. It's just grimy. It's just not I don't know. It's not a great attraction.
You go. It's like when you see a really gross out video or something like that, and like you watched it and you're scarred for life. So now you have to show it to all of your friends so that they can also be scarred for life. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that's the ride that people bring you onto when they want to make you feel their pain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you're all excited. It's kind of like when you go and you take them into what is it, Club Cool, and you tell everyone you got to try the Italian soda, and just see them.
If ever really were an attraction, it's Stitch's Great Escape.
All right, exactly. For me. I noticed this each time I feel like I've gone on the attraction every single time I go down the park. But Journey to Imagination with Figment, I've had enough of. I feel like there's just not much that's there, and the song it gets too much, and I am not a fan. But do you feel like? Do you agree, or?
I definitely agree. The thing is, though, is that Figment is so instilled right now in Epcot. He's so cemented and kind of in place of the Epcot culture and the icon of the park and everything, that it wouldn't make sense to completely get rid of him. It sounds like there's a rumor of adding Wreck-It Ralph to the attraction, or that kind of thing. But I think if they're going to do anything, they should make it maybe a refurb or two ago where they had the Dreamfinder, the original ride. Bring back the Dreamfinder and make it so that it's, again, if we're going to try and bank on nostalgia, go all in and bring back the Dreamfinder and make it one of the, you don't have to bring it exactly and change it back to how it was. You can update it with more modern technology and everything, but bring them back. That would be my change to Figment.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, and so if I'm not mistaken, Figment used to be a lot better. People remember that ride.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Where the character Dreamfinder, and it's funny because there was that thought that there was actually Figment comic books. There were 2 volumes of comic books that came out, and they were pretty popular. And people were thinking, well, if Dreamfinder is in these comic books, then maybe they're going to bring him back into the attraction at some point, and it just never happened. So I think if they're going to refurb, go and say we're going to bring back the Dreamfinder, and maybe figure out some way to do it and move on.
Yeah, no, I agree. Any more? Do you have any attractions on top of that you think need a little bit of a refurbishment at this point?
I mean, refurbishment, sure, but I think I'm going to stick with Epcot and the bringing it back theme. Where as much as I love some of the stuff that Test Track has done, I would say I've always kind of said I liked the old Test Track better. It felt more of like the theme, and so I would say bring back the old Test Track.
So there's a different Test Track.
Yeah, there was. So the old Test Track before what is more kind of a Tron-ish ride right now, kind of. It was more of like a true testing facility where the pre-show was here's all of the different ways where we test cars before we put them out onto the market. And it's, here's the braking test and all these other different things. So it's a lot of the similar attraction. Just it felt more like a testing facility. Whereas now it just feels like you're in Tron.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I agree. That sounds actually really cool.
Yeah, so it's on YouTube. If you YouTube either classic or old Test Track and watch the video, there's a bunch of different ride-through videos that they have, and it's really weird. It's the same exact ride, but with the layout and the theming and everything, it feels like a completely different ride.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That sounds awesome. And that's the whole point of the ride. That's the whole point of the deal. You spend all this time designing your car, and to see all the things, I think that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
For me, I think what needs a refurb, even though it's one of my faves, is so there's one of 2 things that you can do this with. Number 1 would be Mickey's PhilharMagic. I think that can certainly use a little bit of a refurb. Or you can just get rid and redo the entire Little Mermaid show that's there. You know what I'm talking about? Is it in Hollywood Studios?
The one in Hollywood Studios? Yeah, sure.
Not necessary to have it. You have a ride already that redoes the entire Little Mermaid, and you're going through the Little Mermaid pretty much. That whole deal.
Yeah, that's a completely different park.
I understand it's a completely different park, but is anyone really pining for more Little Mermaid? You have it twice in Magic Kingdom. You have it as a part of Mickey's PhilharMagic. You have it in the actual Little Mermaid ride. So why would you necessarily need a 3D show 2 feet over? Give somebody else a bit of a shine.
The thing is that especially right now, with all of the millennials being grown-ups now and everything, and they are going full force into that 90s, the throwback to the golden age, or the Disney Renaissance, and it started more or less with the Little Mermaid. So they're going from Little Mermaid all the way up till like Lion King and Aladdin, and that golden age of 90s animated movies. They're not going to do anything with. They're sticking with that because that is what's hot right now.
Their bread and butter, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, then Mickey's PhilharMagic. Let's add a little more to that show to incorporate some of the more popular Frozen type rides. Give Moana a little shine. I think Moana is something they grossly underutilize in Disney World. They haven't done anything with. Yeah. I mean, they might have a meet and greet now, but I think you could have some of that where maybe, Mickey bumps into The Rock and does You're Welcome. I think it'd be fun to
The Rock, not Maui, The Rock.
That's right, The Rock. Yes. Dwayne Johnson himself pops up randomly in the Mickey's PhilharMagic. So that's what I'd do. Do you have anything else on your list?
I mean, actually, an update to PhilharMagic was on there because I think we actually had mentioned something about them potentially doing that. There's talks about PhilharMagic maybe getting some sort of refurbishment. But speaking of updates, I would also update the Carousel of Progress, which is also in Magic Kingdom. It's found in Tomorrowland, and it's also sometimes one of those seasonal things. Sometimes there could be times where it's closed, maybe not for refurbishment. But the whole thing is you're celebrating technology and its advances, but it ends in like the early 2000s when you know, and now like all of the things that are in that are now in our homes, like cemented in our homes. They're institutions in our homes. Like, there's the guy's playing around with his automated oven and that kind of thing. And there's a whole thing with that where it just goes wild. And there's the grandma and the grandson playing with virtual reality video games and stuff. And we're talking like really, really primitive versions of stuff that we have now, where like smart homes are huge. Alexa runs, you could run your house just on Alexa with some of these products. And virtual reality, video games and stuff are huge now. So it's interesting to see the primitive start of it, but the whole thing, that whole idea of that last scene in the ride is the future, is what's going on, what's going to happen. It's supposed to be cutting edge stuff, and it's primitive versions of stuff that people take for granted now. So it's got kind of that, throwback to, oh, remember when we thought that this stuff was like novelty stuff, and now it's here to stay.
Right.
So I think they need the next step, to refurb that last scene. That last scene was always supposed to be kind of an unfinished thing. It was always supposed to be like changing along with the times to showcase cutting edge technology. That's why it's made its debut in the World's Fair all those years ago. So I think to change it, bring it up to speed, show what's cutting edge technology now versus what was cutting edge technology 20 years ago.
I agree. I think you're 100% right. I actually think, that should have been something they could have continued to do every 10 to 20 years.
Well, that was the intention. The intention was, let's update it every so often to bring in new technology. They just haven't done it recently.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Kind of on my list of attractions I'd like to see kind of redone. And this might seem a little silly, but I feel like the flying carpets. Aladdin's flying carpets, whatever. What is it? What is it?
I think it's just either the flying carpets of Aladdin or magic carpets or something like that.
I mean, I have no problem with an Aladdin attraction. There should certainly be one. But let's give this something a little different. We have already 2 Dumbo attractions. You also have the what is it with the where you're all the way up the Astro Orbiter.
Yep.
Pretty much the same thing, except you're just kind of up in the air. So there's a little different. Flying carpets is basically the exact same thing as those deals, and they're in the same park. Like, I could kind of understand the dinosaurs deal in Animal Kingdom, where they have the same attraction, but at least it's in a different park. Flying carpets doesn't make any sense as to why it was even put into the park in the beginning.
Well, it's a good, they know it works, they know it's popular. It's another thing where you don't need high requirements, that families can go on by themselves, and you sit next to your little 4 or 5-year-old, and they're whirling around in the sky up there, and you look next to them, got that huge smile on their face. You can't beat that. But it's one of those things where it doesn't take up a lot of real estate. You can just plop it in. They're fairly easy to maintain, that kind of thing. They're fairly reliable. So, it's easy to just kind of plop down. Like I said, it doesn't take a lot of real estate or anything like that. And it's just a little extra attraction.
No, that is true. It made me feel terrible now. But I think, I just feel, Disneyland proper has about 8 to 10 attractions that are all pretty much similar. They're all those dark ride attractions that you're kind of going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's fine. I have no problem with that. You should go and have those little types of rides there. Even if it is another dark ride where you're just going through the story of Aladdin and following around the genie, I think that's totally fine. I just feel like you already have the 2 Dumbos. Like, back in the day, I get it. Dumbo used to be the longest line in the park. So it would make sense to have a second Dumbo-esque attraction. But now that you have 2 Dumbos, you don't really need a third same exact ride.
Well, legend goes that there were plans for an Aladdin e-ticket roller coaster ride. There were plans way back in the day. for there to be basically it was going to be the escape through the Cave of Wonders. The second that, because it starts with Abu taking that huge ruby, and then there's the Cave of Wonders cursing at them and then saying, okay, now you're gonna die, and Carpet rescues them, and like that whole cut scene through when they're going through the Cave of Wonders and like flying through and everything, that was going to be a roller coaster. And legend goes that roller coaster turned into the Incredible Hulk over at Islands of Adventure.
Really?
Yeah.
Which is one of our favorites.
Yeah. So that would be awesome.
That is very, very cool. All right. Well, is there anything else that you have on your list before we get on out of here for today?
The last thing, and it's not so much of a refurbishment or an update or anything like that. It's more of an addition to, and I would say might be surprising because it's a relatively new attraction. But lengthen the Navi River journey.
I agree with you on that. I think both the Navi River journey. I also think a little bit of Frozen Ever After can be a little longer as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Frozen Ever After, they were kind of handcuffed because they used the same exact track as Maelstrom, so they couldn't really do a whole lot with it. They actually did add it kind of because the loading and unloading zone is now the same, where it used to be a little bit different. So they did add a little bit more to the ride. But yeah, the first thing that I told you when we went on that ride was be prepared because it's really short.
Right, and thank goodness I had you to tell me that, because if I didn't, and here I am waiting forever to get on this ride, or burning a fast pass, I'd be like,
yeah,
it's kind of lame.
Yeah, I mean, it's state-of-the-art animatronics, it's state-of-the-art graphics, and all that stuff, and everything about the ride is super cool. But that's why we want more of it. But that's probably also why they didn't make it that long. Budget reasons probably said, okay, we're going to pour all of this stuff into this ride. Here's all of the money that you have, and then okay, well, we can make it about 30 seconds, and that's the extent of the ride.
There you go. I agree with you 100% on that. I definitely think they need a little more there. Well, I think that's going to do it for us today. But let us know which rides you think got to go, or maybe need a little bit of refurbishment of your own. Things you'd add to the attractions, things maybe you'd take away from the attractions. Maybe you feel like some rides are too lengthy. I don't know if anyone's complaining about that, but maybe you do. What's that?
I said the Universe of Energy was a little bit too long. It was a solid 45 minutes.
That's insane. Yeah, that's crazy. I thought you were going to mention the Rafiki's deal.
It's just because it's not my jam doesn't mean it doesn't have a purpose. It's basically a big petting zoo / educational area about conservation and that kind of thing, which is all what Animal Kingdom, especially what its original design was for, it's all about education and conservation and all of that stuff. So I think that needs to stay.
Yeah, well, there you go. I think that I wonder if years ago there were two dudes who sat around and did an attraction episode just like this, and maybe it was about Mission Space when it first launched, and Mission Space only had the spinny attraction, and so they thought, hey, maybe we should add a non-spinny attraction, and that's what made them do it.
That is not what made them do that. It's definitely a lot happier than why they had to change it.
Why did they? Obviously, because folks were getting sick.
A little bit more than that, but yeah, let's stick with that. Let's leave it there.
Yeah, we don't want to end it on such a glum note there.
No.
But thank you guys for checking us out today. Thanksgiving is this week. We hope everyone has a very happy, safe, and fun holiday with your family and loved ones, and certainly thankful to be here with each and every one of you guys. This was kind of a concept that Steve and I both had, when I got married earlier in March, and we were able to bring this to you each week, and it's been a lot of fun to do that, and hope to continue to grow the show each and every week. As far as our show next week, it's a little tentative right now, but I think our plan is tentatively to try to do a show either on Friday or Sunday next week. So we will be able to hopefully bring you a new episode of Disney 101 during Thanksgiving weekend. Does that sound about right, Steve? Yeah,
hopefully at some point, we're going to have some guests over at the house, but maybe we'll make some time to do that.
There you go. That sounds awesome. If they all want to cuddle around, they could all be part of the show too. But until next time, everybody, thanks so much for checking us out. Please do follow us over on Twitter at Disney101pod. and make sure you hit that subscribe button. There's a lot of fun stuff coming on the YouTube page, a lot of changes that are going to be kind of going on. So make sure that you guys log into there so you can keep up to date with everything. It's a lot of fun time in the parks, certainly with the holidays. And obviously with this Mickey exhibit here in New York City, I'll do my best to get down there as well. But that is going to do it for us. Steve, anything you want to say before we get on out of here?
No, just happy Thanksgiving and have a magical week. We'll see you real soon.